hello, haven't done one of these in a while. So yeah, we are gonna do a little vlog on review of Multiverse of Madness. And just a heads up, I had COVID like over a month ago, and I'm still kind of recovering from a cough, so apologize for that in advance. Yeah, so I guess we'll do this in like 2 parts, because spoilers, non-spoilers, so do non-spoilers first. Just immediate thoughts. Yeah, this is pretty bad.
It was really stupid.
Yeah, I guess we should probably start up by going into, like, what we thought of the first Doctor Strange. I liked it fine. I mean, it wasn't anything, like, spectacular, but...
It wasn't, like, my favorite of the Marvel movies, but, like, there were things that I liked about it, and I can, like, give credit for, like, the special effects were, like, amazing in that movie, definitely. I was getting, like, Inception vibes from a lot of the stuff that they did in the first movie. Also, there was one scene where, oh god, what's that actress's name? The one who played the Sorcerer Supreme? Tilda Swinton?
Yes.
Yeah, the scene before, like, she dies, where she gives that speech about, you know, like, death gives life meaning, and that our time is limited makes us want to, like, go out and live our lives, you know, like, I really liked that scene, and I really liked that speech. I think that was probably one of the best Marvel scenes, honestly.
Yeah.
So even though overall it wasn't, like, my favorite movie, I found it kind of boring, honestly. There were still things that were, like, good about it, definitely. And this movie is, like, so tonally different from the first one. It's baffling that, like, they're even supposed to, like, be, like, in, like, a... I don't know if they're gonna make a third one, probably. Or, like, the fact that they're even supposed to be, like, a continuation of the other. It's, like, because they're so different, And, like, Marvel has done things like that before, like, Winter Soldier was obviously, like, a very different movie from the first Captain America, but it made sense because he was in a completely different time period, so it made sense that the 2 movies were different, but this, it's, like, it's still a movie, like, I understand there's different elements, but this is still a Doctor Strange movie. It doesn't feel like one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, like I said, like, I wasn't, like, I didn't think the first movie was anything spectacular, but, like, I liked the characters enough to be invested. Like, I like Doctor Strange, I like Wong, I like the Ancient One, I liked the characters. So, like, even though, like, the overall story and, like, the villain was pretty weak,
What a waste of Mads Mikkelsen. I love Mads, he's such a good actor, and, like, his villain just sucked in that movie. Which is such a shame, because, like, if you watch him in, like, Hannibal or, like, the James Bond movie, like, he's so good at playing villains. It's like, how did you mess that up?
Yeah, and, like, this movie, like, it's the exact same problem that I had with the Loki series, where, like, it's not about the character, it's about the multiverse, which...
And, well, I mean, this movie has the same writer.
Yeah, which so. I'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah,
I heard that the writer from the original was originally supposed to come back, but then he left due to creative differences, and, like, yeah, it shows.
Yeah,
it really shows.
I mean, he didn't go into specific, like, what those creative differences were.
I can kind of infer.
But if I had to guess, it's probably because he wanted us to be a movie about Doctor Strange, and it ended up being a movie about the multiverse.
Yeah.
Like, again, exact same problem with the Loki series, where, like, it's not about the character, it's about the multiverse. Like, all of, like, Phase 4, like, they've been, like, really pushing, like, the being, like, centered around the multiverse. Like, oh, multiverse, we're gonna do this, and it's like, honestly, I'm not feeling it. Like, I would rather, like, them just continue, like, the stories about, like, characters instead of, like, selling this whole, like, multiverse thing. I mean, the only entry so far that I feel like has been able to do this well was No Way Home. Because even though, like, obviously the multiverse plays a huge part in that movie, like, it still felt like a Spider-Man movie.
I don't know, I feel like there's certain characters that the multiverse thing plays well with better than others. Like, Spider-Man, I don't know what it is, but, like, especially with, like, Into the Spider-Verse, the idea of, like, the multiverse and there being, like, multiple, that just works incredibly well with Spider-Man. Maybe that's just because he's just such an iconic character that, like, you want to see different versions of him. But with Doctor Strange, it's like, I want to see a more, like, character-driven, because, like, the first movie was really about, his, like, him being, like, more humble and him, like, having to learn to be, like, less arrogant and really, like, having a shift in his character. And this movie, he barely has any character. The only, I don't know if this is would be spoiled, but the only character development this movie really centers on is, like, his relationship with his, like, not girlfriend, who, honestly, they didn't really even have that much chemistry in the first movie to begin with, so I didn't really even care about that relationship ever. And that's, like, the only character development this story even focuses on, which is, like, it's like, no, I want to see Doctor Strange continue to, like, develop as a person. And he, like, doesn't really.
But it's like, even if you were gonna do this whole idea of, like, the multiverse, like, you still could have done that and still, like, focused on, like, Steven's, like, character. Like, this just doesn't do that at all. And, like, honestly, like, even, like, because, like, they were, like, really selling to me, like, oh, we're gonna have all these, like, surprise cameos and stuff, and it's gonna be... Honestly, they don't even really deliver on that front. Like, if you're going into this expecting to see, like,
You're
bunch of different franchises from, like, all your favorite, like, other Marvel properties, like, honestly, you're gonna be disappointed, because, like, they don't even have, like, that much, and, like, they already spoiled, like, a handful, like, half of them in the trailers anyway. Like, we already saw Captain Carter, and, like, that there was a teaser where they showed Captain Carter. Like, obviously there was a trailer with Professor X, so, like, even though they didn't show his face, like, you could see, like, the wheelchair, and you could hear, like, it was very obviously Patrick Stewart's voice, so, like, everybody already knew he was gonna be in this movie anyway.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I won't spoil the others, but, like, it's really underwhelming, honestly.
Yeah, it's like it feels like the whole reason why they're like pushing for the multiverse so much just because they want to throw in as many cameos as possible, and even on that they don't really deliver. So it's like, even if you just want to purely just show a bunch of cameos, but like look at how much stuff we can put in, look at all these cameos. Like, even if you were just purely looking at that angle, even from them, it's not really that impressive.
Yeah. Like, honestly, it's like, if you're not even gonna, like, do that, like, what was even the point of this movie?
Yeah,
like, why did I even watch this? Like, it was just very underwhelming, and, like...
I guess we should talk maybe about, like, Sam Raimi's, like, directing style.
Yeah.
So, Sam Raimi, he, of course, directed the original Spider-Man trilogy, which, I mean, 2 of those movies were great, and then the third one was not good. But, I like Sam Raimi as a director, but the last movie that he made before this was back in 2013, was Oz the Great and Powerful, which I did not see, but I heard was not very good. So it's his first time directing in a long time, and it kind of shows, that he hasn't, like, directed in a while. There's definitely a lot of, like, Sam Raimi-isms. Like, it's, like, a horror movie, so, because Sam Raimi was originally, like, a horror director, there's a lot of, like, horror movie tropes in this movie, which I guess is, like, kind of interesting that they're doing something different, because that's not something we've really seen in a lot of Marvel movies before. And this movie, it is a bit more, like, gruesome than other Marvel. Like, I've heard stories of people saying that there were, like, kids screaming in the theater, because someone, like, we didn't have that in our theater, but that would be really funny if that did happen, but, like, that, like, younger kids were, like, screaming because some of the characters get killed off in, like, really gruesome ways. So, on one hand, it is kind of interesting, but on the other hand, there's parts where it almost feels, like, corny, almost, like, it's, like, trying so hard to be gruesome that actually kind of starts to look silly, like...
Like, honestly, like, I didn't even find this scary. Like, I was literally just laughing my ass off the whole time.
Yeah, that was very dumb.
Like, it is partially because, like, they do, but, like, I hated the editing in this movie. Like,
yeah.
They do all these, like, really bizarre, like, obnoxious like, zooms and, like, these really like, weird, like, fast-forward edits.
It feels, like, very outdated. It's, like, I know, like, Sam Raimi is, like, still trying to do these, like, things that were popular in, like, the 2000s or, like, older movies. It's, like, it feels very outdated. Like, this doesn't fit in, like, a modern movie.
Another thing, too, is that the special effects in this movie were
They're
really
bad. And that's, like, because, like, the special effects were one of the things that I really liked about the first Doctor Strange movie. Like, I thought the VFX department did a great job with that, and then here, they look awful.
They look so fake.
It looks like something out of fucking Spy Kids. That's how fake it looks. Yeah, like, Marvel's special effects it looks like they've been getting worse, which is, like, baffling to me, because, like, you would think that with newer technology, like, the VFX would be getting better, but no, it looks like they're just getting worse, and it's like, and people, you might say, like, well, it's because, you know, they were probably filming during COVID, and it was shot during COVID, but, like, there were other movies, like, I'm pretty sure The Batman, was that shot during COVID?
Probably.
Because that movie looks fantastic, and, like, so it's like, yeah, even if you're shooting during COVID, like, there's really no excuse for it to look this bad, like.
And it's like, obviously, like, special effects, like, that's all done in post.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing that on a computer. You can do that anywhere. Like, that's not an excuse for that.
Even if you use, like, well, I have to do is a green screen because COVID's okay, but, like, even if you're using a green screen, you can still make it look good. Like, you can still use proper lighting and stuff, like. Yeah, so I don't buy the excuse of, like, well, it's just bad because of COVID, because there have been other movies that were shot during COVID, and they look fine. Yeah, it was, like, so jarring seeing, like, the Batman and how beautiful that movie looked and how, like, gorgeously shot everything was. Then you go to see Marvel movies and, like, they look like garbage. They look like they were shot and like, visual effects have always been kind of a problem. Even with movies that I absolutely love. Winter Soldier is my all-time favorite Marvel movie, but even that, there is, like, the color palette of that movie is pretty bland. Like, there is a lot of some pretty, like, obvious green screen, some bad VFX in that movie, but, like, there's been other Marvel movies where they've been able to do that well, like, with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, because James Gunn's, like, an amazing visual director. So those movies look amazing, and then, like, in Thor Ragnarok, there's some scenes that look kind of bad, but then there's other scenes like that shot with the slow-mo where she's, like, fighting, where Hela's fighting, like, the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
That scene, they had to, like, invent a new lighting technique to get that shot, and that scene looked amazing. So it's, like, it's not even like Marvel can't make movies that look good. Like, they're capable of doing it. It's just that they don't for some reason. Like, and I don't know. A lot of it's because of, like, bad planning. Like, they change things at the last minute and expect, like, the VFX department to, like, make all these changes, and then it looks awful.
Yeah, so another thing I want to bring up is the character America Chavez. I'm just gonna say up front, I don't think Xochitl Gomez was the right pick for this role. For two main reasons. One, I think she's too young. She was, like, 14 or 15 when they were filming this, and, like, obviously, like, I know America Chavez is a teenager, but she's, like, an older teenager. Like, this actress looks like a little kid. Like, she doesn't, like, I don't buy her as this character. And another thing, too, is that in the comics, America Chavez is an Afro-Latina, and this actress is very much not.
Yeah, I've never read any of the comics, but I've seen what she looked like, and I looked and I was like, she doesn't look anything like the character from the comics.
Yeah, and, like, so, like, yeah, like, one of her moms is black, and apparently that was the mother that gave birth to her, and obviously she has a mother who is Latina as well, but, like, obviously, like, her, like, being black, like, played just as much as, like, a part of, like, her heritage and her character as being Latina, and I just don't think that it was right of them to just completely, like, erase that part of the character's identity. Like,
it's like, oh, look how progressive we are because we're putting in gay couple. It's like, okay, that we can quickly edit out for instance, like, okay, but, like, but then you're erasing the fact that, like, she's part black. Like, that's not very progressive.
Yeah, and, like, obviously, like, there's, like, a whole, like, controversy because, like, because she has two moms and, like, the bunch of countries are banning the movie.
Fuck them, who cares?
But, like, honestly, even that is, like, really, like, kind of, like, it doesn't play a huge part in the movie. Like, they just kind of gloss over it, and obviously don't make any acknowledgement that America herself is gay. Because, oh, the kids, we can't indoctrinate the children.
Disney's coming under fire right now for the Republicans accusing them of grooming. Like, oh, if you show a gay character that's grooming kids to be gay, it's like, well, so if you show a straight character, is that grooming kids to be straight? Like, I could go off on a whole rant about that, but I'm not going to.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, they're already, like, losing money because, like, they're refusing to edit out the scenes for these. Like, you might as well just, like, go full gay at that point. Just like, you're losing money anyway. Like, who cares? And, like,
you're Disney, you can take the hit, like.
Yeah, like, another thing, too, is that, like, so in the comics, America Chavez has this very, like, badass, tough as nails, like, don't fuck with me kind of attitude, and, like, here, like, she's just this, like, generic kid Doctor Strange has to save. Like, she just screams and runs a lot. Like, she doesn't really, like, do anything. Like, she doesn't really fight until, like, the end, and then she literally just, like, throws, like, one punch. And, like, that's it. And, like, she doesn't really, like, even do anything, and, like, I don't know, like, I didn't like the way, and it was probably because of the writing, because Michael Waldron can't write for shit.
Yeah, like,
but, yeah,
she barely even has, like, a character. It's like, she's just, like, a plot device. Like, she has this power, and she might as well, the characters replace her with, like, a magic rock that has some power that they need to keep away. Like, she barely even has, like, a character.
Yeah. And, like, again, like, when I saw, like, the picture of, like, when they announced, like, Xochitl Gomez was cast, I remember being like, that's who they got to play that character? Like, again, like, I don't want to sound, like, mean towards Xochitl Gomez.
Well, it's not her fault.
But this is not her fault. It's the fault of the casting. Like, they should have picked a different role. Like, this is not on her. And obviously, like, the writing, too, I guess you can get into, like, Michael Waldron. Like, obviously, like, if you guys have, like, watched my other stuff on this channel, you know I, was not, particularly fond of the Loki series, to put it lightly.
It started out so promising, and then it just fell apart by the end.
Yeah, so, I did, like, a whole, like, 30-minute video essay on just, like, why I just fucking hated that show so much, and, like, I talked a lot about, Michael Waldron, the guy who wrote the series, and just really just, like, how, like, not qualified he is to do these projects. I mean, like, the only, like, writing credit he had before doing the Loki series was, like, arguably one of the worst Rick and Morty episodes, and, like, that was it. So, like, I honestly have no idea how he even got, like, this job.
He probably has some, like, rich parents in the industry.
Yeah.
That's always how these things work out, is, like, it's, like, nepotism.
'Cause, like, I mean, the script for the Loki series was just so bad. Like, he completely just botched up Loki's character. It was nothing like how he was in the original. And, like, I know, like, I talked about how, like, in my video, I talked about how, like, he, like, made these tweets saying that he'd never watched, like, the first Thor, like, the first Avengers before writing this show. Like, to be fair, I did put this in, like, a comment as well in the video. He did say that those tweets were, like, a joke, and that he actually did watch them, but, like, I'm still kind of skeptical about that, because, like, he did a bunch of interviews where he gets, like, really, like, basic facts about the previous movies wrong. Like, he said that, like, Odin killed Laufey in the first Thor. It's like, no, Loki killed him. That was kind of an important scene. So yeah, I'm still, like, to be fair, like, I will point out that, like, it is possible that I was wrong about that, but I'm still kind of skeptical, to be completely honest with you. But I did just want to, like, make that clear, but, like, even still, like, he still, like, based a lot of that show about his fucking god-awful, the worst guy of all time, and the girl who came to kill him script, which I read a couple excerpts from the video, which is just so cringe. And, like, it was just, I just thought it was just so insulting that he took this, like, script that clearly had absolutely nothing to do with Loki or the character in any way, and then, like, basically just crossed out the names of, like, his two main characters, replaced them with Loki and his...
I need to replace my OCs with...
Yeah.
Loki.
And Sylvie, the horrible Enchantress / Lady Loki hybrid, who's not even really either of those characters. But yeah, like, if you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts about the series, you can watch those videos, but yeah, to put it mildly, I am not a fan of Waldron's writing at all. I think he's honestly very terrible, and, I mean, he also, like, I just don't like him as a person either, because he also, like, made this tweet, like, talking about, like, how hot, like, a 15-year-old girl was in American Idol. I mean, he deleted it later, but it's, like, still, like, dude, that's gross. So yeah, obviously, when I heard that he was writing this movie, I had pretty low expectations, but yeah, no, he completely botches, like, the character of Doctor Strange and, like, Wanda, and, like, it's just not good. Like, he just doesn't know how to write, especially female characters. It really feels like he just doesn't know how to write women.
Yeah, also, like, I guess we should talk about Wanda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much about what Wanda's role in this movie is, because it kind of goes into spoilers. But yeah, it kind of follows on from, like, WandaVision, where she, like, sacrificed, like, her made up, like, Vision and her kids and stuff, and, like, I guess, like, you don't really need to have seen WandaVision to kind of I mean, obviously, like, her kids play a role in this, and obviously her kids were introduced in WandaVision, but, I mean, I feel like you could follow this fine if you haven't seen it. I mean, I guess, like, we could kind of go into WandaVision as well. Yeah, basically, like, when I first saw it, I thought it was okay, but we've also been, like, rewatching it as well, and honestly, like, rewatching it has kind of made me just realize how, like, completely devoid of logic that show was. Like, I thought it was just really dumb that, like, they're having Wanda do something which is very clearly unethical, like, kidnapping all of these people to make her, like invented, like, sitcom world, and then, like, she's, like, invading all of these people's minds, and then, like, all of a sudden, Monica Rambeau, who is, like, one of the agents for this, like, agency that's, like, trying to stop Wanda, is all of a sudden, like, making all these, like, excuses for her. She's like, oh, yeah, like, I know she, like, invaded my mind and, like, took over, like, my body and stuff, but, like, well, at least she didn't, like, kill me and stuff. It's like, so that makes it okay? Yeah. Like, what did you say? Like, and I just thought it was so dumb, like, oh, she's in grief. It's like, they're just, like, making all these excuses for her, and it's like, if this show was supposed to make me like Wanda more, like, honestly, like, I kind of found myself hating Wanda by the end of that series. It's like, she's, like, doing all these awful things, and, like, we're supposed to act like it's okay, just because, like, oh, she's in grief, at least she's not, I mean, oh, well, at least
a lot of people, it's like, if I may quote the wisdom of Rocky Raccoon, like, boo-hoo, we've all got dead people, that's no excuse to get everyone else dead, or I guess in this instance, that's no excuse to enslave an entire town and brainwash everyone.
It's like, the series ends with, like, oh, like, she knows she did wrong and she put it right, but, like, still, like,
it's like, they say, well, it wasn't a sacrifice, because you're just cleaning up something that you're not, like, giving up something, you're cleaning up a mess that you had no right to do in the first place. It's like in that, the second Wonder Woman movie, where she, like, possesses another guy's body, essentially, and puts, like, her dead boyfriend's soul in the body of another man, and then it's like, hey, you're kind of hijacking this other person's body, like, that's messed up, like, you have to give him up, and then it's like, oh, this sad scene, because she has to give up her boyfriend. It's like, no, you had no right to do that in the fucking first place. Like, it's not sad.
But, like, it kind of, like, continues on from that, and, like, even though, like, the way the series ended was, like, they were trying to make it seem like, oh, she knows that, like, what she did was wrong, like, here in this movie, she's honestly kind of starting to try and, like, justify it again. It's like, why? Like, I thought, like, we had this kind of resolved in the series. And, like, obviously, like, I can't get into too much of, like, what her role is without getting into spoilers, but, like, I don't know.
Should we start getting into spoiler territory?
Yeah, I guess. So, like, just kind of, like, general thoughts. I really don't get why this movie is being so highly reviewed. As I mean, obviously, like, there's some, like, some...
it's Marvel.
There's, like, some negative reviews, but, like, all those people, like, oh, it's so, like, trippy and cool. It's like, no, it was really disappointing. Like, the story made no sense.
They have some scenes where they travel through different multiverses, so that makes it cool. Like, no, it doesn't, because there's been other movies that have done that concept, like, way better.
So yeah, like I said, like, if you're going into this expecting to, like, see, like, oh, they're gonna have, like, all the movies from, like, the Fox universe and, like, all these other, like, movies that Marvel's in the past, like, no, you're gonna be really disappointed. Like, they barely do anything with, like, this idea. So, yeah, I guess, like, overall, like, as a overall grade, I would give this, like, a D minus. It's not good. I was not impressed at all. Like, also, like, the jokes are really not funny in this either. Like, I don't think I laughed once at any, like, of the jokes. Like, the writing is, like I said, the script is just awful. Like, it's not worth it. And obviously, like, if you are a huge Marvel fan and you still want to go see it, fine. But, like, I'm just warning you, like, if you, like, lower your expectations is all I'm gonna say, because you will be disappointed. Do you have anything you want to say before we go into spoilers?
No, we can just jump right in.
Yeah, so, yeah, guess we can kind of talk more a little about, like, what Wanda's role in the movie is. So, Wanda is the central villain. They make that very clear early on. So, like, obviously, like, we saw, like, what she did in WandaVision, and, like, they're trying to make it seem like the way that series ends, like, oh, like, yeah, she's gonna atone for what she did. She knows she did wrong. Here, she's just like, oh, no, like, I've sacrificed so much. I deserve to be with my children. And Doctor Strange is like, telling her, like, you don't have kids. You made them up. And she's like, no, like, I'm a mother. I want to be with my kids. And, like, she's trying to make it seem like the line that they would also show this line in the trailer that I thought was so stupid is you're like, oh, well, you break the rules and, like, you become a hero, I break the rules and I become a villain. It's like, that is such a stupid fucking argument for her to make. Like, yeah, Doctor Strange broke the rules, technically, kind of, in the first movie to, like, save the universe, essentially, from Dormammu. Like, you did it so you could, like, enslave a town and live out your sitcom fantasy. Like, how is that in any way equivalent?
Or some people thought that she was referring to what happened in No Way Home with that, but even, like, he was doing that to help a kid who needed his help, whereas you're just doing it for your own selfish purposes. So even there, like, that's not a good argument.
Yeah, again, like, it's like Doctor Strange, like, what he's done, like, every, like, quote-unquote action they're trying to make it seem, like, questionable was done to, like, help somebody else. Whereas, like, here, like, Wanda, like, everything she did in Westview was entirely for her own benefit at the expense of other people. Like, that's not equivalent in any way. And, like, and it was so stupid. Like, there were actually, like, people, like, trying to, like, defend her.
Yeah.
Like, defend Wanda. Like, oh, yeah, no, she's right. She has a point. It's like, no, she fucking doesn't. Like, that's just a stupid fucking thing to say. And, like, yeah, so Wanda is, like, the straight up villain. Like, she basically becomes this, like, demon, essentially, and, like, I think they were trying to insinuate that, like, the Darkhold, like, the book thingy she got, I think it was from Agatha, was, like, corrupting her mind or something, but, like, even still, it's, like, this just kind of, like, came out of nowhere. Because, like, obviously, like, yeah, Wanda did some pretty, like, bad and questionable things in WandaVision, but, like, here, all of a sudden, like, she's just this, like, completely different person.
Yeah.
It's, like...
And, like, her being pissed off at, like, even then, like, if they wanted to do this, like, Wanda hates Doctor Strange, there was, like, another thing that, like, because, of course, in Infinity War, right, Doctor Strange gave him the Time Stone, and Thanos used the Time Stone to undo Wanda killing her robot boyfriend, so that, like, her killing him did absolutely nothing. So if they wanted to do a plot where she was, like, angry him because, like, you gave Thanos a Time Stone, and because of that, like, Vision's death meant nothing, and then he was like, well, look, I had to do it because there was no other way, and she was like, bullshit. Like, if it was, like, something like that, that would actually, like, make sense to me as to why she would be mad at Doctor Strange. But no, it's just like, no, I just want to go to another universe where I can be my children, and Doctor Strange is like, you can't do that. Like...
So that I thought was kind of dumb and came in nowhere. Like, I was kind of suspecting that they might go with, like, the idea of, like, Scarlet Witch kind of, like, becoming the villain in this, but, like, I was not expecting them to just do that, like, right off the bat. Like, I thought it would be, like,
like, there's no setup to it. It's just, like, out of nowhere. It's just, like, oh, she's evil now. It's like, well, where the hell did this come from?
Like, if it were, like, a gradual thing where throughout the movie she just becomes, like, more, like, pissed off at, like, Steven, or, like, just more, like, depressed and, like, wanting to, like, leave her life and go somewhere else, that would be one thing, but, like, this just coming out of nowhere, it just felt really, like, forced, and, like, it didn't feel earned at all.
Yeah, like I was saying, like, if they had done it where, like, the fact that she has a resentment towards Doctor Strange because he gave Thanos the Time Stone, if that had been, like, that could have served as, like, the catalyst for her getting angry at Doctor Strange and her, like, turning against him, if they had actually written that gradually. But no, it was just like, oh, no, she just immediately hates him now and like, wants to, like, kill everybody. It's like, where the hell did this come from?
So, yeah, so I guess we can go into the cameos. So, like, yeah, so, like, the only time that they do anything remotely, like, fan servicey with the cameos, like, obviously, like, people knew the Illuminati was gonna be, it's honestly, like, they spoiled way too much in the trailers, to be honest. Like, they, like, they, like, a lot of, like, the stuff, like, they should have left a surprise, because, like, all, like I said, like, half of the fan services, so, apparently surprise characters were, like, already spoiled in the trailers anyway. So, but, like, yeah, so obviously, like, people know Captain Carter was gonna be in it, because, like, she was in, like, one of the teasers. Obviously, Professor X, and this is apparently supposed to be the Professor X from the animated series, not the one from the live-action movies. But I mean, like, it was still pretty cool to see Patrick Stewart reprising his role and, like, using, like, the hovering wheelchair from the animated shows. I thought it was really cool, like, when he shows up and they start playing the theme from the animated show, like, that was pretty cool. That was, like, the one time in the movie that I felt, like, any kind of, like, hype or anything at all. But yeah, they also have, like, I don't even remember what this character is called, like, Black Bolt or something? Is that what he's called? I don't even know.
Yeah, and he just, like, gets killed in the dumbest way possible.
Yeah, so they have, Black Bolt and then, a different version of Captain Marvel, with Maria Rambeau instead of Carol Danvers. And then they have, obviously, John, was it Krasinski? I don't know
how to pronounce his name.
As, Mr. Fantastic, which was obviously big fan casting. So that got a bit of a reaction from our theater. But, like, all of these characters die, like, immediately. Like, literally, like, they have a couple minutes where they, like, talk with Doctor Strange and, like, tell him the backstory of what happened to, like, the Doctor Strange in their universe, and then, like, Wanda immediately kills all of them.
No, it was funny, because, like, I hated, like, the whole Captain Carter thing. I'm like, no, like, the, like, Union Jack over the shield instead of those. Like, no, this is America. Can't have, like, the British flag on there.
Dude, I cringed so hard when she said, I can do this all day. It's like,
you can't say that line!
That's not your line! Fuck off!
Yeah, so, like, when I was watching Wanda Fire, and I was like, tear that bitch in half! And then she literally cuts her in half. I'm like, oh, she literally tore that bitch in half. Okay, well...
Yeah, they all, like, die in these really gruesome, honestly, kind of, like, campy, like, ridiculous ways.
It's like, it feels like something out of, like, Final Destination, and it's, like, so over the top and ridiculous.
I mean, some of the songs, like, I can't even, like, believe that this is supposed to be scary, because it looks so ridiculous. Like, I was just laughing the whole time, like, the way they, like, I was so pissed off that they killed Professor X, and, like, I could hear somebody in the audience saying, like, they better not kill off Charles, and, like, they immediately kill him off after that. It was so stupid. Like, he dies in, like, the dumbest way possible. Like,
yeah, he falls for this, like, super obvious trap that Wanda sets. It's like, he would have known not to do that, like, come on.
It's like he's literally one of the most powerful, like, mutants. No, just immediately dies to Wanda. Like, no, he should have at least been able to put up more of a fight than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and, like, that's literally it. That's all, like, there's no, like, if you're expecting to see, like, the Fox X-Men, or, like, even, like, the Fantastic Four characters from the previous Marvel.
Look, I was like, it would have been really funny if Chris Evans came back to reprise his role of, the Human Torch. Like, that would have been so funny, but, like, no, that didn't happen, unfortunately. Disappointed again.
It's like, this is the goddamn multiverse. Like, you could do so much with it, and this is the best you could come up with. Like, are you so completely devoid of imagination, Walter? Like, there's so much, like, there's so many different comics you could have pulled, there's so many different things, like, have, like, I don't know, like, put in, like, Sorcerer Supreme Loki. Like, the Loki, like, there's a comic storyline where Loki becomes a Sorcerer Supreme. Like, that would have been fucking hilarious to see, like, Strange interact with him. Yeah, but no, we don't. Obviously, because, you know, Michael Waldron is, like, completely incapable of writing Loki having any, like, power or anything like that whatsoever. Like, oh yeah, the Loki series, like, does not tie into this movie at all. Like, people had, like, all these theories about, like, the TVA was gonna show up. No, there's none of that. Loki doesn't show up. Mobius, nobody, like, not even, like, Kang or anybody. It doesn't tie into the Loki series in any way. So it's, like, again, like, what was kind of even the point of that series? Because, like, I thought, like, the whole point of that show was just so they could set up the multiverse, and, like, it doesn't even tie into this series, this movie at all.
And then, like, the whole right, so, Christine gets married to someone else, and then that, like, sets up the only arc that he really has is, like, he's, like, wondering, like, oh, are there other universes where, like, I could have been with Christine? And then, like, at the end, he meets a Christine, like, in another universe, and then he kind of has some, like, resolution of, like, learning to, like, you know, let her go and accept that, like, they're not going to be together. But it's, again, I never really cared about their relationship in the first place, so it's, like, yeah, it's, like, the same thing with, like, the Loki series. It's, like, I want this love story between Loki and Sylvie, and it's, like, I just don't buy it, like, at all, or care about it. It's, like, that's the only character development that Loki even has, is, like, this stupid love story.
Literally falling in love with himself.
And then,
so
yeah, then, like,
dumb.
this, like, the only, character development that Strange even really goes through is, like, about Christine, and I'm like, I don't care about this relationship at all. I care more about his relationship with Wong than I care about his relationship with Christine. Yeah. Also, here's the thing that, like, I was thinking about, because the whole theme of the movie is, like, hey, like, you shouldn't try to, like, go find alternate universes where you were with the ones that you love, because, like, you know, you have to accept the universe you're in. It's like, okay, I'm like, but, like, okay, but, like, isn't that literally what Steve Rogers does at the end of Endgame?
Yeah.
He creates an alternate universe where he goes back to be with Peggy even though she married someone else. So and I thought it was funny that they don't mention Steve Rogers at all in this movie, because if they had, then they would have had to, like, realize that contradicts everything this movie is saying. Like, this whole movie's theme is, like, the thing that Wanda is doing that they're trying to prevent from doing is the exact same thing that Steve did in the end game, but they presented that as, like, a good thing. And even they even explain, like, the whole thing about, like, well, what would you do with your alternate reality stuff? Like, the only way that you would have to, like, get rid of them or kill them off, or, like, you'd be lying to your loved ones by not letting them know that, like, you weren't really the person that from their universe, that you were, like, a different person. They even, like, it was so surreal that they were basically explaining everything that was wrong with Steve Rogers' ending. It's like, yeah, this is exactly what Steve Rogers did by, like, creating an alternate universe where he going back and, like, undoing the fact that Peggy was supposed to marry someone else and then going back and marry her, like, why that was, like, a bad thing. So it's like, so how can you say that, like, it's bad for Wanda to do this, or it's bad for Doctor Strange to try to do that, when that's exactly what Steve did? Like, and no one complained about that, so it's like, it contradicts, like, the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Like, I just, like, obviously, like, I hated, like, the way that, like, they ended Steve Rogers' story arc, and, like, yeah, it pretty much does, like, go against, like, everything that this movie is saying. It was, like, and again, like, I feel like they also, like, just, like, how bad that ending was also highlighted in, like, Falcon the Winter Soldier, like, especially, like, the way that, like, Bucky ends up. It's, like, Bucky has nobody, and, like, yeah. Steve, like, would never be okay with just leaving him like that. Like, that's just, like, knowing how much, like, Steve cared about Bucky, like, he would never, ever do that. Like, it's just so stupid. Yeah, the whole theme of this movie is, like, you need to accept the reality that you're given and not try to just go tamper with it or find another reality where it's better, and, like, you know, accept the good things that you have here. And it's like, well, that's not what Steve Rogers did, and he was, like, one of the most noble superheroes in the entire, like, MCU, and like, you presented that as being a good thing. So yeah, it just, like, the morals just don't make any sense, because they're literally just contradicting themselves. Yeah, so, and, like, the way that, like, the movie ends, like, they, I think, kill Wanda off. Like, I don't even know. Like we see her, like, she decides to, like, destroy, like, the Darkhold and, like, the temple or the thing that they came from and whatever, and we see, like, all these rocks landing on her, and, like, I don't know if that's implying that she's dead or, like, what's going on with that. I don't even know anymore. Like, the ending was just pretty weak. Oh, the ending was so stupid. Like, he just walks outside. He just starts screaming out nowhere. I think because, like, the evil Doctor Strange that he fights at the end has, like, this third eye, so I guess
they're suggesting that, like, he got possessed by it or something, or, like, I don't know what that's even supposed to mean, but, like, he, like, goes out for a walk and is like, oh, look at this happy ending for Doctor Strange, and out of nowhere, he just starts screaming, and it's like, what the hell?
Like, he just grows, like, a third eye out of his forehead, and that's literally the way it ends.
I'm like, what kind of ending is that? Like, what the hell?
It's so dumb.
And then, there's another scene where we suddenly see Doctor Strange again, and he looks like he's fine suddenly. And then, like, Charlize Theron appears. I don't even know who the hell she's supposed to be, what character is supposed to be, or who she's supposed to be playing. But he just shows up, and she's like, there's an incursion, you need to come help us, you're coming with me. And it's like, who are you? Like, what is this? What's going on?
Yeah, that was really dumb. Yeah, like, literally, like, every choice they made in this movie was just wrong. Like, the script was just all wrong. The way that they, like, chose to, like, show things, like, to present things, like, the cinematography, everything was just wrong. Like, I had, like I said, like, I already didn't like the guy writing this series, so I already had pretty low expectations, but, like, holy shit, that was just, like, it was so, like, surreal just how bad that was. Like, I couldn't believe how, like, completely, like, incompetent, like, everything in this movie was. And, like, just, like, I don't know, like, and, like, the characters, like, Wong doesn't even do a whole lot in this, like, they don't really, like, we saw, like, in, like, No Way Home, like, he's, like, the Sorcerer Supreme now, or whatever, like, that doesn't really, like, I mean, like, there's this thing where, like, he, like, takes Wanda to the place where the Darkhold comes from, so she can do the spell, because she's, like, holding him hostage, or whatever, but, like, he's not even really a big part in this, which is, like, sucks, because I love Wong. I think he's a great character. I even met the guy who played him at a convention. He was super nice. And then, like, America Chavez just kind of, like, goes to the Sanctum, and so I guess she's gonna, like, be there now, but, like I said, like, she doesn't really, like, do a whole lot in this movie. Like, the only role she plays is that, like, she has, like, this power that she can, like, travel between multiverses, and, like, Wanda wants her power, and, like, she doesn't even really, like, do anything, and, like you said, like, she could literally replace just, like, an object that has that power, and, like, pretty much nothing in this movie would change. So, like, yeah, like, everything was just really, like, underwhelming, and
like, some of the stylistic choices, like, I don't want to be mean to Sam Raimi, because he's made some great movies, but the choices that he makes in this movie are very questionable.
Yeah, like, he does a lot of those weird, like, things where, like, they'll, like, overlay, like, one image on top of another, kind of like, have, like,
it's very dated. Like,
yeah.
It's, like, that was a thing for movies from, like, 20 years ago. Like, movies don't really, like, look like that anymore. It's, like, there's kind of, like, these, we've kind of moved past these, like, stylistic choices. Like, again, if you were making, like, a movie that was meant to look vintage, like how in WandaVision they make these stylistic choices, but it's because they're, like, replicating TV shows from, like, a certain time period. So it's like, if there was, like, a reason for why you were replicating movie styles from, like, 20 years ago, then that would be one thing, but, like, it just feels very, like, Sam Raimi just hasn't moved past, like, those kinds of stylistic choices, and they feel, like, very out of place now.
Another thing too is that, like, the score is really, like, campy, like, especially, like, some fight scenes, like, the music almost felt, like, comically mismatched, like, at some places, like, they would play, like, these really, like, almost, like, just, like, this really, like, campy, like, corny music during fight scenes. And I'm like, why would you pick this music for this? Like, this does not match at all.
Danny Elfman did the score for this movie, and it's like, again, like, this style of scoring doesn't feel like it's the right for, like, I'm not saying it's, like, that it just doesn't feel, like, right for this kind of movie. Like, it just feels very, like, out of place.
Yeah, so, Yeah, overall this is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, like, if you went from just the first Doctor Strange movie to this movie without seeing any of the other, you would have, like, no idea what the hell was even going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about this, because, like, it's just not good.
It's bad.
Yeah, so overall, unless you're like a hardcore Marvel fan and you really want to see this, I wouldn't recommend it, because it's not worth it, honestly. Like, they don't deliver, and like this movie was way overhyped for what they actually ended up giving us, and like, I guess like they had like shot some other like cameos and stuff, and they like ended up cutting it. Like, this movie went through a ton of like rewrites and reshoots,
and you can tell,
yeah,
it's very obvious.
It's very messy. Everything like it's rushed. It doesn't feel earned. Like, it's just a mess, and like I did not enjoy watching this. So yeah, so that's just my thoughts. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Yeah, so would not recommend, and I hear that Michael Waldron is not returning for the Loki series season 2.
Thank God.
But I mean, they're just replacing him with Eric Martin, who's just another really bad writer, and like, he's very like pro Loki and Sylvie on Twitter and stuff, so they're probably just gonna push that bullshit romance even more. I mean, I'm already not even planning to watch season 2, because like, I don't think there's anything they can do to salvage that show at this point. Yeah, so, yeah, overall, I have not been impressed with Phase 4. I mean, there's been some stuff that I like Moon Knight, the show was really good. I like Shang-Chi fine.
Who was that, there was like an actor from it that died, the French guy.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. He was great.
Yeah, so like, there's like some stuff that was pretty good, but like, overall, like, just this whole theme of like the multiverse and stuff that they're pushing, like, it's not worth it, and like, I'm not into it, and like, honestly, like, the more I see from Phase 4, the more I think they honestly should have just like ended
They should have just stopped it after Endgame.
Yeah.
It feels like it's just falling apart now.
Yeah, so yeah, sorry for the downer review, but I don't really have anything very positive to say about this movie, to be honest. And yeah, I'm just kind of just falling out of love with the MCU at this point, so,
Yeah, there's way more misses than hits at this, but like, the MCU was never perfect. They always had movies that were some movies were good, some movies were duds, but recently the quality has just gone like way downhill, which sucks because it's like, oh well, they're putting more diverse characters in. It's like, yeah, they are, and that's good, but it sucks that the writing for these more diverse movies is awful. Like, it's like, I'm glad that they're putting in more gay characters and more characters of color, but the quality of the movies is not good, like, you know, so like, yeah, it sucks that, like, you know, that at the time where they're actually starting to finally put more diversity in, they're not putting any effort into making those movies good.
yeah, so, yeah, just kind of, yeah, not good vibes. So yeah, so I guess that's it, and, I'm not sure when we'll be able to do the next review, but hopefully it'll be soon. So I guess we'll see you guys next time. Bye!